Okay, so lots of good discussions, and don't worry, we're going to formally wrap things up here, but you can also keep chatting on your tables, carrying on that conversation. So you've hopefully had a look around, look and listen about what's going on around you, and the next phase obviously would then be to plan a strategy. And as I mentioned in the ReadySetGO manual, there are heaps of ideas of strategies, but I'm going to share one a bit more of what we've mentioned already tonight, and that's PrayPlaySay. I can say that when I can say that. I say I'm a PrayPlaySayer. So what is PrayPlaySay though? It's an example of a strategy. It's been talked about tonight. Lynn mentioned it briefly as well. This idea of being intentional and where God has placed you. So very much in our lives we're very busy with church and sport. I certainly get that tension in that. All my sports mates, they hang out with each other all the time because that is their people group. Whereas I'm kind of in this limbo between church and sport, which is great, which is where I need to be. I need to meet with my brothers and sisters who and be encouraged by them, and I need to be where God's put me as well. So we're in that tension. So often we don't have more time for, Lynn's mentioned some other strategies, formal programs, but it's this heart change. We just mentioned about ready and then set heart values. It's that heart change. And one thing that kind of really helped me when I first, and this is a global thing, this is PrayPlaySay, again from ReadySetGO, so it's happening around the globe, is PrayPlaySay, and it's based on Colossians chapter 4. I'm not going to read it tonight, but Colossians chapter 4 verses 2 to 6, which essentially starts, it says, devote yourselves to prayer. So it starts about praying, being devoted, praying for your teammates. When you pray, things happen, God changes hearts, changes situations, so praying for opportunities. It says in Colossians 4 in that section, he's praying. What's he praying for? He's not just praying for God to bless them, which sometimes that happens when I'm, you think I'll whack off a quick prayer for my teammates because I feel like I haven't done it. No. It says I pray for opportunities to share the gospel. I pray for an open door. I say this a few times, but often I'm scared to even pray that because what if God opens those doors? Then I actually have to say something. Often it's just like I just pray for my team. I pray you bless that game. I pray you'd keep the refs safe, and those are great things. But Paul here is encouraging us, is saying pray for open doors to the gospel. So that's pray. Play. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But play, it's thinking, and it says in Colossians 4 verse 2 to 6, it says, be wise in the way you act towards outsiders. Being wise about something means you thought through something. Often when you're on the pitch, Lynn's talked about it, you have white line fever, you cross that line, things happen in a game, adrenaline's going, and that's even more reason for you to think before you're on that pitch about, or in that race, or in the pool, what actually is going on, what's going on. So when you finish a game, you're looking at your heart and saying, actually, is my heart, am I idolising my sport, am I using my abilities to bring him glory or to bring me glory? And that can show its head in different ways. Not just on the pitch, but or in the training facility, in the gym, but also in that time outside of that. So, like Gav's mentioned already in his testimony, that the footy club, the ladsy culture, so it's not just about the way you play on the pitch, which is essential, but also thinking through those issues off the pitch and how you're going to stand. We have got some scenarios with time, we're not going to go through them, but for example, footy culture, I know cricket as well as guys. Some clubs will bring out a stripper on a Thursday night after selection, and it's like, as a Christian, what do I do there? I need to be thought out, I need to be courageous as well in what I say. So being wise, okay, so that's pray, play, and then say, is saying something, the good news of Christ. John mentioned it at the start, we started with that intentionally tonight about the gospel because that's what we love, and that's what gets us going. But there's that opportunity, praying for the opportunity to say something. It might not be the chances of you going through the whole gospel and sitting down are few and far between, and you do pray for those opportunities, but it's just what you say now and again that comes up. Do I take that moment and stand up and say something, or do I shirk away and miss the opportunity? And we know that's an onward battle, and as Christians we can be pretty real with each other here, that we're not all got it together, and I'm sure again you can share some stories of when you stuffed up and some stories where you've grabbed hold of an opportunity as well. So PrayPlaySay means you're not doing anything more than normal. It's that change of the heart in what you're doing, where God's put the people around you. So we just want to also encourage you guys. I think we'll carry on and I'll hand over back to Johnny, but you're in your groups, you might meet some people tonight a bit closer to where you are. You might have a look around and find some more people from your sport as well that you want to chat to, and maybe some particular issues you want to talk through, and that's great. But you may also be feeling, well, okay, I've grabbed hold of the vision tonight and I get it and I'm going to keep going with it. But it gets a long slog as a Christian sport on your own in a club. Gav's Club, as you've heard, had 12 Christians in. What an awesome place to do that together. So, and I've had an opportunity now and again with another Christian in my team, and that's been a real blessing. But often the time, you're on there as your own in a club. So we also want to kind of chuck out the idea tonight about the possibility of PrayPlaySay kind of groups. So the idea that maybe 3 times a year, gathering kind of like this, but one north of the river, one south of the river, where you can come together, you can pray for your teammates, you can work through some of those issues of tensions on the pitch, pray in terms of playing, an opportunity to pray for each other and encourage each other to keep going and PrayPlaySay. As I said earlier, being in your church is essential. I just started a new home group last week, and I sit down and there's no one in the room that plays sport. And so I'm like, oh, okay. But that's God's church, and that's what we're called to love. But now and again, it is good to come together, see other people who are standing for Christ, doing what you're doing, and pray together. So we're going to float that as an idea and see if anyone wants to grab hold of that. My final little thing is PrayPlaySay. There's in the same heart as ReadySetGO, there's a website called PrayPlaySay.com, and on there you can go on and there's a few easily set out Bible studies. There's a little video, there's a little opening question, you kind of format a testimony, a little Bible talk, and then a little passage, and you can just grab a couple of friends, work through that, and work through some of those issues as what it means to be a Christian in sport. So we've gone through tonight looking at your local context, and carry on and doing that. You might come up with your own solution of what you want to do in your area, or you might think of some other people. And there's heaps of strategies, as I say, in the resource, but I just wanted to highlight one to give you an idea of some of the types of things in there. John, over to you to wrap things up.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing there, Lawrence. Yeah, so we do want to encourage and give you an opportunity to continue talking with the people at your tables, maybe in similar sports and things like that. But we do appreciate your feedback again. Lawrence and myself, a number of people, I guess, been having a lot of conversations over the years, just really trying to understand that first question, understand the context, understand the Australian culture, understand the sports culture, and think wisely and think a lot about how can we engage that. So we do appreciate your feedback on that. So there's pens on your desk and some sheets of paper being handed out. There is an opportunity at the end if you do want some more information. Lawrence has suggested those PrayPlaySay groups. It's something we'd love to consider. We do know we are busy in sport, in engaging with non-Christians, engaging with our church culture. That it might only be something that's done once every 3 months. You just gather with some other Christians from the south and then another group in the north, just to share those frustrations and tensions that maybe guys at your church don't face, or just be excited about playing sport for God, or praying for people you maybe know at the same club, things like that. There are scenarios on the other side, don't worry about them, but they may be something that just intrigues you. So, what I want to do now is give you a chance to keep chatting at your table. Yes, fill out that feedback form. Even if you want to flip over and there's some scenarios, maybe you want to chat with the people around you. But as we've said at the start, the crux of this is, I guess the reality is, if you look around, and I look around, there are a number of people who are passionate about sport and live in Perth and are Christian who maybe don't have the same vision, just weren't available tonight, whatever. And it is a movement. It's a bit rogue. It's not with your church. So to encourage somebody to consider sport and Jesus or whatever, it's kind of, well, it's not church, it's not small group. I don't kind of feel like there's any expectation or even perspective of what that means. And we realise that prayer is such a huge part for Christians being excited in sport, for opportunities in sport, and everything else that involves in living for God. So we do want to give a chance, if you form some good relationships, or even shared some similar struggles or even joys, to have a chance to wrap up the night praying into those things, and just praying for opportunities, playing sport for God, and things along that line. And lastly, we do really want to thank YWAM and Josh, who has a DTS, a training school for 5-6 months of with Christians from around the globe who are actually specifically looking to do sports ministry in Perth and globally as well. So I really appreciate their facility and their time. And they'll actually have a bit of coffee and tea and some food probably the next 5 or 10 minutes for you to keep chatting and keep fellowship with. So, yeah.
Out there, if people want to help themselves and bring it back in, they can.
Right, thanks, Josh. So, feel free to fill out these feedback forms, give them back, and continue your conversation. And we'd highly encourage you to, as I said, if you've shared some frustrations and joys, to maybe pray at your table or with 1 or 2 people as well. But this does kind of formally wrap up the night. So, thanks for being here. So, I'll just pray to finish with, and then it's open to you guys to go from there. Thank you, God, that you are good, that you are for our joy, that you've created many things in this world that we can enjoy you in and through. I just pray that you continue to help us to realise the freedom we have in you and how that shapes everything, not just sport, but our work, our relationships. God, just pray as we leave here, we'll continue to consider how we can engage the culture around us, with just rubbing shoulders, or the opportunity to fellowship with other Christians, to encourage Christians in sport, and then to even really, share the gospel. We just thank you, God, that you are what this is all about. This is not just another program or another thing to busy our schedules with. I just pray that you give us wisdom to think about these things and ultimately to pray, play and say for your fame and your glory. Thank you for this time to be encouraged with one another. Amen.